Wait.
Here.
Roll call.
Sorry, I was trying to go fast.
No, you're good. Kelsey,
Here.
Merle,
Here again.
Glenn, he's on his way. Blake,
Here.
Chair is here. If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. If we can have a motion regarding the agenda, if you've had a chance to look at it.
I'll move we accept the agenda as presented.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Public comment? Come on in. You're good. No public comment, we're good?
No.
Okay. Board communication, we have high school ASB student representative report. We'll fit you in if you come later today. Diane, did you want to speak to the SEI?
Sure. I just pulled up a report and we just had one board member.
Okay.
Glenn, I don't have or see that you have submitted your SEI. And it's April
That's correct.
15th. And then we're just double checking on one that didn't show up on the list yet. So otherwise, thank you all, you did it.
Yeah, no problem. You do have a few more days, so don't stress. Okay, we're going to acknowledge extended overnight field trip request for the high school band and choir camp at Rockaway Beach. The details are in the link. We're also doing an extended overnight field trip request for the high school drama club in Ashland, Oregon, May 29th through the 31st. And I'll just comment, I'm thrilled to see that has returned. And then moving on to number 5, the consent agenda. Have anything?
Yeah, if I could, first of all, I think this would be a good time to acknowledge our new payroll and HR specialist, Shelby Cox, to the team, and we're excited to have Shelby here, and so especially leading into the HR personnel piece on the agenda item. So welcome, Shelby. We're glad you're here.
Thank you. Very cool.
And just before you approve the consent agenda is the license contracts are back on here because there was a name omitted from the March piece of this. And so we just want to make sure we got that corrected. No need to draw any extra attention to that, but just making sure it's accurate now.
All right. So if you've had a chance to review those, I would be entertain a motion. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Okay, and a second discussion,
Yes.
Kelsey. I'll just put a reminder out there if it's about a staff that we are in a public meeting.
Is
A caveat to it for discussion. Go ahead.
Is discussion in order?
Yeah.
I had a question about a couple of the field trips.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah.
The first one, they mentioned 70 would be attending.
Are you talking about the board communication piece of it?
The extended overnight field trip for band and choir music.
Oh, yeah.
They say 70 attending,
Mm-hmm.
documentation there,
Yeah.
and at a certain amount per student. And my math would add up to $9,800 instead of 63. Just curious about that.
So we have an acknowledgement, not necessarily an approval.
Oh,
So
I thought this was the level of approval. Not true?
no, it's a board acknowledgement, but let me look back on this.
I could be wrong.
Is it the band one that you're, doing?
I didn't bring it up again.
so are you requesting a correction?
I just had the question whether I was missing something or if that really is necessary to amend that.
So are we within the consent agenda? 'Cause
We're not.
the motion and second was related to consent agenda item.
Correct, just
Yeah,
so,
that's really the other part's not germane to the motion.
Correct.
right, just a minute though.
Yeah. I'm happy to go back and revisit the previous items, but I think the motion on the floor is to approve the consent agenda.
So we're out of orders.
Well, technically, but I will go back to your piece, okay?
Yeah,
So-
I just thought we needed a motion and second before we could discuss, that it would be out of order to discuss it ahead of time.
I think within the board communication section, I'm happy to discuss any of those things, so, because they're not up for vote.
So here's what we'll do. We will finish with the consent agenda on, the HR personnel file and the board meeting minutes. Then we'll go back to that piece, okay? Does that work for you, Merle?
That's fine.
Okay, so I heard a first and a second. We had discussion that we're reevaluating. Let's move to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed? So going back to the board communication of the extended field trips, typically we do a board communication. We haven't actually voted on these, but I will, have Superintendent Bush follow up with you. Does that work?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I must be mistaken. I thought that there was a certain level, most field trips or a number of them are just information only. But that overnight or maybe it's just out of state that requires, is that the way it is?
Generally, it's out of
Requires,
state, require
approval. I
approval
was
from
looking
the
at
board, I
policy.
believe, you could
Yes.
probably tell.
That's probably right.
Okay,
Overnight in-state generally is just an acknowledgement.
Right.
And on the other one also, while we're discussing it, the transportation piece
mm-hmm,
lists $300 per student, and I assume that's a typo.
No. Back and forth that far, maybe not as much of a typo as you would think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, 300 per student would be
Uh-huh.
high.
Yes. Yeah, the
yeah,
transportation makes up a significant portion of those kind of budgets.
down to Ashland. So if you have
Yeah.
further questions, if you can connect with him and we'll move forward. Thank you. Okay.
All right.
Business and budget.
Yeah, so Kim unfortunately could not be here this evening, and so there's 3 updates there, and so the first one. I'm probably the least prepared to address, although I do have some notes from her. And so because it does relate to I do believe we have a resolution to authorize the budget adjustment through appropriations transfer, so there's some links there, and essentially is that we did not budget enough for transportation, so we're coming before you to ask for an appropriation moving from instruction to I believe it's contracted services.
Support services.
What's that?
Support
Support
services.
services, thank you. And that will more than cover what's needed there to cover the expenses and transportation.
Okay.
And if there are and I haven't taken any questions yet, and I'm happy to try taking questions, but I will say that there is not a time sensitivity to this, and so if there would be preference to wait till Kim is back at either the work session or the May board meeting, that is fine.
I will just say we are in the middle of trying to do our budget. So if there isn't any concerns, I would entertain a motion for this resolution.
Now, I'll move we approve resolution 041326A authorizing transfer of appropriations as presented.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion around it? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right. The next one I'm definitely more comfortable with, and so. As we have shared with you, we've been in ongoing conversations with First Student throughout this year. Looking at ways to reduce our transportation costs. And had several meetings over the last several months with them. Really appreciate their partnership. Just kind of cutting to the chase of these conversations, they have offered us to reduce the final year of the current existing contract, which we are currently obligated to have a 10% rate increase for next year. They have come back and offered us a 2%, or reducing that to 2% rate increase for the final year of the contract. And they are asking for a 1-year extension of the contract at a 2% rate increase. We think we should take advantage of this. This is going to be significant savings to the district over the final year of the contract, plus the reduction of any compounding costs when you go from 10% to 2%, and building off of that, a 2% rate increase in an extended year will help us budget better, knowing what those are. And we were firm with them that we will be doing an RFP that, given the significant reduction that this is, that I know previously I said that we should do a RFP next school year, but I think that given the significant reduction that this is, we should postpone that 1 year and be committed to doing a RFP during the spring of 2028. So.
Could you add just a little more light to the holding off of capitalization of equipment then?
Yeah, happy to do that. So they did offer us just to reduce from 10 to 2% in the final year, with really only an ask that they not have to do capital improvements in the final year of the contract, which would have equated to 13 new buses for them.
Yeah.
And so we said, but if we do the extra year, they will go ahead and move through with those capital improvements in the final year and do the 13 buses.
Okay.
So again, I think it becomes a really almost no brainer to move through that. So, yeah. I just wanted to note that for students, this reduction is an investment in our relationship. Going from 10 to 2% is a really significant investment in their relationship to keep our business that they've had for a very long time. And so I just really want to appreciate their responsiveness to our concerns, their willingness to move through their various levels of leadership to work with us. And so I do appreciate their investment in our relationship. So there is an action item there at the bottom of the memo.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll move that we authorize superintendent to negotiate and execute a contract amendment and possible 1-year extension with First Student.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I would just say, I appreciate Superintendent and Kim been courageous enough to make it ask. I think 2 years. It's a good move.
Yeah, totally.
It's their benefit.
All right, hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. We'll share that outcome with First Student very soon. So there is Kim's monthly financial report and enrollment report. This is again one where I'll be less capable of updating you on, other than what her memo already says, explains to you. So I think the most important note in her memo is the third bullet, where, you know, we're seeing a slight increase in revenue for, we're estimating around a slight increase for this year in revenue.
But again, like, I would just say, but again, what I heard Kim say multiple times, the caveat of the transportation 80% versus,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, and even you know, I think one of the questions is, even within taking that rate reduction that we just did with First Student, you know, that could impact that rate, but I think. I won't say any more on that.
All right, moving along.
All right, and just for transparency's sake, I do want to say that the enrollment report is concerning, especially at the high school, going from March to April. It is something that we have to have a better idea of every student that's leaving and knowing why, and that's one thing that is in part of our strategic plan, is to do more exit interviews when families are leaving and have a better sense as to why they're leaving. And then what can we do with the high school? Not uncommon for high school students, whether you're on trimesters or semesters, if someone has enough credits to graduate, that they leave early. But how do we provide more options to keep kids engaged through graduation versus through the formal graduation in June versus allowing students to leave early, or not creating more systems to have them want to stay throughout their time. So because overall we're down almost 45 students from
Yeah.
the beginning of the year to date, and that is not a trend that we can continue to maintain. So one of the things in our strategic plan is to do more exit interviewing of families when they leave. All right,
Okay.
so
I'll speak to the board action for item A.
thank you.
So again, this is our formal document that will be presented in the public on behalf to say we evaluated Superintendent Dan Bush. And I would just like to take a moment to recognize your leadership in our district and how thankful we are. You have definitely kept the board well informed, as well as your relational connection with the staff, the students, all of us. It really has been a breath of fresh air, and I appreciate it so much. But this is your formal evaluation.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to chime in before I move along? Well, I guess technically we need a board action item. Sorry, I misspoke. Do I hear it first? Accepting the superintendent evaluation.
I'll make a motion, we approve the superintendent official evaluation report as presented, and parent also just as an editorial, the comments of our chair.
Thank you. I was like, I should have saved that for discussion. I got ahead of myself. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion before we move forward? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion gladly carries. All right, step B, or board action item B, we had a board member resign, Dr. Robert Rodriguez, and I'd just like to thank you, doctor, for your service on the school board. But we do need to acknowledge and declare a vacancy. And that we have an open, was there notes in here for the board vacancy for anybody? No, okay, so I just.
Two motions or one?
Just one.
Okay, thank
Can
you.
we take a stab at it?
Yes,
I will make a motion to accept the resignation of Dr. Rodriguez for position 4. And declare that the board now has a vacancy of position 4.
do I hear a second
I'll second.
discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Motion carries. All right, number D, approve a change in the designation of financial audit firm.
So the board memo captures the key details here, and so we are recommending to go with Clear Trail CPAs as the auditing firm. Beginning with the 25-26 fiscal year, so this year's budget would be audit and books will be audited by with your approval, Clear Trail CPAs.
All right. Do I hear a first?
I move to approve the designation of Clear Trail CPA as the audit firm for North Marion School District beginning with the 2025-2026 fiscal year.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I just have one question. Do we anticipate them to work on the same timeline and be able to follow sort of the school, our business timeline as we've done in the past?
I think it will look different. I think the timing will be different. And I could let Kim speak to that at the next work session, but the traditional timing that's been done previously is not the more consistent timing of what school districts normally do. So, or at least what Kim's familiar with. So, she can speak to when the two processes in that audit, the full audit, and I can't remember, is it the interim audit or there's
Oh,
there's
yeah.
another one that's done, and she can speak to that.
Okay.
So, but it will be different timing, yes.
Where is this company located?
Ooh. Somewhere locally,
On the internet?
yeah, probably. I mean, it's only been recently that then now there's a couple more firms available, because for a while there was only a couple players in the state,
Well, I
so.
noticed only 2 responded out of 3, and I wondered how difficult it was to get a third one to respond.
Yeah,
Could we have done that easily, or?
oh, without Kim here. I could pretty much
It looks like-
freestyle.
It looks like they're a member of the Beaverton Area Chamber of Commerce. Okay. So that's discussion. Moving to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Oppose? Motion carries.
Okay, so the last one, is one of those things where it's not an easy recommendation to bring forward to you, but I think it's an important one. And, so last week I emailed the entire district after multiple conversations with both of our associations that I believe, is the right decision to bring an authorization for a reduction in force to the board, or I request an authorization primarily as a precautionary measure. And what I explained, we had 4 Q&A sessions with staff on Thursday and Friday. They were very well attended by members of all 4 schools. So essentially the entire district staff had the opportunity to meet with Kim and I Thursday and Friday. Given the ask, the tenor of the room was either sober, and I think in most cases appreciative of the open conversations and what we're attempting to do. And what I explained to staff is I would rather be in a situation of having gone through the steps necessary to conduct a RIF and not need them, versus to be in a panic situation in a month after the state reconciles our books, we're closing down a school year, and come to find out that we're overstaffed by a couple people. And so this is largely precautionary, but there are steps that have to be followed when a authorization for RIF happens. For instance, you need to publish seniority lists and review the seniority lists with the unions and making sure those steps are followed. And that was one of the common questions we got among staff are the seniority lists going to be updated? And yes, they are, and they will be shared with you. Those are the things that staff members want to know. And I think being able to have those lists readied and reviewed, and in case there's any errors in there, those can already be taken care of. And so having those necessary steps and not needing them versus needing them and then being compressed by time and what happened and all these different things. So and as I said to the staff, and it's in my memo, we're in a largely different situation than we were last year. You know, and we're in a better budgetary situation because of what we did last year. It's not an easy ask, but I think it's a necessary ask that you authorize me to conduct a reduction in force for the 26-27 school year. Although it's not in the action, you know, it's implied that if necessary, although it's not in the formal action that I'm asking, if that makes sense.
All right, do I hear a motion?
Motion to authorize the superintendent to conduct a reduction force for the 2026-2027 school year.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion?
I just have one question.
Yeah.
Is the process where you arrive gonna look similar to last year? I know it's not.
That question came up from staff and I would say mostly not.
Okay,
In terms of what we did last year, we did what's called basically like zero-based staffing, where you start at the top of the list of the seniority and you place people into every school where you're at, almost like you're starting with the whole deck. And so I don't see that as the approach that we would take, because I think if we have to do any reductions of staff, there'll be so few to do that really we'll be looking at the bottom of the seniority list and kind of working ourselves up from there that way versus having to do the way we did it before, where we had a lot of transfers in place. And not to say that transfers may not happen, but in terms of, you know, I had like a 3-page guide that guided us through that process last year. I do not think that that would be necessary at all.
Okay, nothing else, let's move to a vote. All those in favor? Say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries.
And just one other final note, and hopefully you saw my presentation, our commitment to, because the big question is when will we know? And if you looked at the presentation that I gave to staff, is there have been 4 updates provided to staff between now and the end of May. And so one will be this Wednesday, I'll give an update to staff, and then every 2 weeks through May as to what do we know now budgetarily? And, you know, do we believe positions will need to be reduced? So that's my commitment to staff, and you'll certainly be included in any of those communications.
Okay, strategic plan?
All right, well, the next 2 items, I'm gonna turn it over to Des.
All right, so this is just a quick update on the strategic plan. We are really in the last few steps of our process. Dan and I have been able to go through the feedback we received at our last strategic planning committee meeting and do a little bit of editing. We're at this time really looking to maybe tighten up some of our language, as well as demonstrate and show where strategic initiatives start to overlap. Because there's a lot of work that is intertwined and braided together really significantly, but lives in separateness, you know? So what it looks like is it's redundant, it looks like it's repeating itself, when in actuality it's really braided together. So we're looking at ways to communicate that through the plan, and once those like last few edits are gonna be made, we will share it out with the team one last time and kind of get a vote. Is this look like the work we talked and did together, or would you like to come together one more time to get any final feedback? Once, if we need an additional meeting, we will then have that meeting. If not, we will bring the final draft to the board probably at our next work session, I think is the goal.
Yeah,
Something to just bring your attention to is we did start to file in all of the data so that we can have that like ongoing data charting, occurring within the strategic plan itself. And really, do what we can to keep people on top of the measurements that we're using. And as we develop new measurement tools that are unique to some of the ideas that came from the strategic planning committee, we'll bring those to you guys as well, just so that you know what new data points we'll be collecting. And kind of as a final piece, our other component of data is that we are going to be using the Youth Truth survey in a lot of the different data components. There are different ways that we can use the Youth Truth data. One is that we can use like big snapshot concepts within Youth Truth. What is the percent positives of culture, for example? What are the percent positives of safety? And those are big swaths of information where they've taken multiple sets of questions and data points and compared them and given us a big score on those different areas. But we also know that there are specific questions that are asked that they use to get that like big number. And that those questions actually are unique and really interesting to see how we specifically grow on those questions. So the other thing that we're gonna be doing is doing a deeper dive into Youth Truth to pull out specific questions along with those big numbers so that we can see not only how are we growing in safety as a whole, but maybe on these specific driving questions of safety that are integrated into the integrated plan and are part of some of the strategic initiatives. So we're in the process of that deep dive, and connected to that, we have received some feedback from our community about our need to communicate about Youth Truth. So at conferences, all the principals are going to be getting a one-pager that's kind of a summary of their Youth Truth data that they can share with parents. Just
Well-
using that data and getting in front of people.
And we'll share those with you. Des has created a great one-page infographic for each school and the district, so we'll share those with you.
And then the next piece is just kind of an update on our calendaring process. It is, oh, sorry. Sorry, Chris, I just kind of jumped in.
Thank you for having the glossary in the back for everyone.
That was Dan's idea. And I will say it's one of those lovely places where AI was really beneficial. We put the entire strategic plan into AI and said, please pull up all the words that you think would be needed to be defined by just a regular community member. So AI is like, well, we read through the whole plan, here are all the words that should be defined, and then we worked on developing a glossary based on that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you.
Sorry. never mind.
No, good. I'm sorry. I ran on too fast.
No, you're good.
So the final piece of information, we are a little behind on our calendar, and the big reason behind that is there are several items on the negotiation table that are gonna be directly impacting our calendar. And the process of building a calendar is complicated enough, let alone building it, then having the contract change and needing to rebuild it. So we have been kind of pausing and waiting. Our hope is we have negotiations tomorrow. And I at least am keeping my fingers crossed that workier article can be completed and we'll be able to move forward on the calendar. But we do have one piece of information that we would like to share with you guys to get kind of a thumbs up that we can start communicating about. One of the biggest questions we're getting about the calendar, people don't care where conferences are gonna fall, but they wanna know when the school year starts so they can plan their vacation. So at our last board meeting, I did say that I would go out to get information from our community about how they would like the calendar to start. So we asked, do you want it to start before or after Labor Day based on that late Labor Day? And this is how the data fell out. We had 226 responses, which was actually fairly good in terms of the survey, because we tend to over-survey our families and they tend to ignore them. So I was happy with that results. You can see that the majority of our families did say to start before Labor Day, along with about 8% that were no preference. And we pulled that out because we were wondering, I'll back this off just a little bit. We were wondering, is this like, oh, staff really want to start before, but parents want to start after? And actually the way it fell was almost right along with the overall. So we felt good that this is a majority opinion. So we would like kind of your seal of approval to now announce that to families, that the calendar has not yet been developed, but we would like to let you know that we plan on starting before Labor Day, which would be an August 31st date for students.
With an end date of the 11th, is that what I read?
Yeah, approximately, we have to kind of wait
Oh,
until the
sure.
rest of the calendar fills out with that one, so we would let people know that would be a definite approximate.
Sure.
That also kind of gives us an approximate of graduation, which would leave graduation in its typical first week of June. I don't know if that is.
We don't need a vote, but basically what we don't want is to bring back a finalized calendar that has the 31st and then have the board go, no, we don't like that. So because we're not bringing you a formal calendar to adopt, we're just asking for feedback if this is, if that August 31st is gonna be a hard no for anybody.
I really liked when you had when Labor Day's early, to keep it there. It was kind of nice, that split. I don't remember the exact days of it, but I liked how it worked out, because starting clear on the 8th is late. It pushes.
Yeah.
17th approximately is late. I'd like to go early.
Well, and Des shared with me an idea of actually, because she's done these 2-year calendar adoptions, which I think are great, but then she also had this idea of bringing the committee together every year to adopt the 2-year calendar
Yeah.
out. So we're not making that calendar committee make 2-year decisions, but having them go through. And so what made me think about that was embedding that idea that when Labor Day is like on these 3 days, it's going to be, we're gonna start after Labor Day. When it's on these days, it's gonna start before. We got that one from McMinnville, so.
Yeah.
And that way we're not posing this question every kind of 2 to
Not to
3 years.
reinvent the wheel every time.
Yes,
Exactly, it
Yeah.
also allows us to always, like, families will always have a 2-year calendar in front of them, so they'll have the current year and the next year.
I like it.
And I won't go over this data, but I did include in it all the other data points that we asked families about, including a summary of their feedback. And a list of actually, when they have a chance, they can write in feedback. And so we did provide all of that as well, just so you can hear what our families are telling us, and that we're taking into consideration through the calendar committee as we make decisions about the calendar. And that, any other questions? That's it for me.
Doesn't have any impact on board meetings.
It doesn't.
I know where you live, Merle.
I will say the piece that, why, for me, I'm glad about that earlier start is the later start feels like a great idea in August. Because we're ready for a longer break and make sure that we have a little bit of time before school starts. Where it feels horrible is around the 16th, where you're like, we still have like 3 more days with kids and they are like biting at the bit to get out of here, because really they're used to school ending a week earlier.
I agree.
And so
Yeah.
it's kind of, we have to think and project forward that that end of the year being really long is really hard on students.
Wouldn't there be some appreciation to having the 3-day weekend almost right away?
Yes.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Okay,
How does this, what does this do to tries in terms of
Everything-
where they end, where they, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the earlier start helps it end around breaks again. We've been really trying to do it right around Thanksgiving break. And then enough before spring break that there's at least a few weeks of class before we move to spring break. Starting earlier allows that to happen. If we did the after Labor Day, it shifts everything. So it'd be like we do like.
One
We
week back
do
and
the
then you
break
take
and then
off.
have like 2 weeks before Christmas break and then do.
Yeah.
It worked out better around spring break, where we would do almost the end of try and then go directly into spring break and basically make spring break a week and a half. Which I think for families can sometimes be great if they're traveling, and horrible if they are parents that still have to work. Yeah.
okay. So I just will call out that we do have some future meetings. We're having a work session and we have budget committees, so get those on your calendar. Anything else before we adjourn?
No.
Okay, we'll adjourn at 6:41 PM.
But before we adjourn, you'll read into executive
Yes,
session.
I will. So executive session ORS 192.6602D. Board will now meet in executive session according to ORS 192.6602D to conduct deliberations with persons designated to carry on labor negotiations, collective bargaining for UNME according to ORS 192.6602D. Content discussed in executive session is confidential, except as provided by law. Board members and the media are instructed not to disclose information obtained in the executive session except when specifically authorized to do so or as required by law. Members of the media may attend executive sessions except in these specific instances. Deliberations with persons conducting labor negotiations, expulsion hearings, or those pertaining to confidential student medical records and litigation involving the news media. Policy BDC executive sessions. The board will not be taking any action on the content discussed tonight and will adjourn following the executive session. So we will adjourn at 6:43 and we'll go back into executive session in 2 minutes. You good? Stop recording. Oh, thank you.
Lots of